It has been a day today. So, um, it's already gotten pretty widespread, but Josh Duggar has been arrested, which, in the world of Christian fundamentalism, the Duggar family is like one of the kind of like crown jewels. Like, they're kind of like the prototype of fundies going on reality TV. Can't say I'm surprised, and a lot of people saw this coming, especially in snark forums and such. Oh, honey, come on. So, there's lots of feelings. First of all, there's that immediate, like, kind of like, yes, finally. And not gonna lie, I certainly have had my fair share of enjoyment in snark. It's refreshing to see that hopefully, he'll be held accountable as he needs to be. And because he's arrested by a marshal and it's a federal charge, so far it says no bail. I don't know if that means no bail has been set or that there will be no bail posted. But from what I've heard, they knew the arrest was coming. It sounds pretty serious, and a lot of people are speculating on what it could be. I hope it's financial. I have a feeling it's not, or not only that, but I hope it is. That's me speculating, though. So, what I wanted to bring to light, though, is the implications of the butterfly effect of this, because I don't know if anyone else to any extent in his family is involved. Again, I suspect, but I don't want to... speculation is different from blaming. And one thing that I think that everyone who is involved in this discussion should be careful of is, claiming it's this or that. And thankfully, I haven't seen any of that. And a lot of people, because of what we suspect, I think are reluctant to claim it's anything. So, I guess that's a relief in a way. I'm not sure. But having dealt with... I shouldn't say... I don't like the way dealt sounds. It sounds so, like, flippant. But having interacted with a lot of people who have been in really bad situations and, been through prison or know someone who's been through prison. I've been in this situation where housemates caused a lot of problems, and I'm not sure how much I want to go into that at this point. But yes, basically I've been in situations where people who rented other rooms in a house I was with got federal intervention and went to prison, and that was rough. And I didn't even know the extent of everything going on, but for someone that I just happened to live in the same house with, it's very stressful with that kind of stuff going on. So I definitely feel for his kids, especially because I don't know how he is as a father. I don't know how he comes across as a friend. I would expect that people he's related to feel torn. I mean, I've got a lot of problems with the prison system anyways. And I'm for restorative justice, not punitive justice. But, part of restorative justice is holding someone accountable. And how that is manifested, I'm no expert in it. It's something that I know the kinds of things that don't work, but not necessarily everything that does. I also am afraid for, just like the kind of commentary that people are experiencing, how, like, especially for the girls that were victims of his assault, how they might feel. Girls now, women. the cognitive dissonance of it. Hey, honey. Especially because, something like an event like this causes a split in your life. Like, it's like the before and the after the arrest sort of a thing. And how is that going to affect other people in his family? How will they be treated because of what he's done, even if they have nothing to do with it? In the world of, like I said, Christian fundamentalism, this is a huge milestone in terms of accountability, but also exposing the dark underbelly of what goes on, especially because men, more than anyone else, are the culprits of violence and criminal things that happen. And that system allows for it to foster. And having been in a situation myself where, like I said, with the housemate, I'm having a hard time articulating this. Hopefully it comes back to mind. I had it and I lost it, and then I had it again and I lost it again. I really feel for Anna's position because the way that, again, like our current, I say, criminal justice system works is that, it goes by justice is blind, and I would say punitive justice is blind. Restorative justice, if anything, should have binocular vision. Because I don't think that necessarily, punishing someone who might know what's going on but is rendered helpless, I don't think that's really necessarily justice, especially if someone like Anna's in a position where, you don't feel good betraying the trust, so to speak, of someone you care about. You hope they change. You encourage them to change. She might be afraid for her life. And also afraid of what would happen if she knows what's going on and she would turn him in. Afraid of... Honestly, Breaking Bad is a really good example to use as an analogy. Like, think of the position that Skylar was in. I wonder if Anna has been in a position like that, where it's like you therefore feel guilty and complicit. I mean, that's... I don't know much about laws, but at least my understanding, that's what the law says, is that basically if you know something's going on and you don't say anything, you're complicit. And that's tricky and nuanced because, again, like, it's not as simple as, which I used to think it was as a kid, like, you just, you tell on someone who's doing something wrong. Like, no, it's not, because sometimes people make mistakes and, they change. And I don't think that necessarily punitive justice would have been beneficial for them. Where some people, I will say that it seems like punitive justice finally got into their head, like, hey, like, you need to change, or it's like, this is going to keep happening. Not that I like that, but I think about the stress of having, that many children and living in a refurbished building in your in-laws, on your in-laws' property, and being pregnant again, especially during COVID, and then your husband is guilty of something federal. Like, that's incredibly stressful, which is an understatement, especially if she feels like she has no way out. And I I don't know if she's okay with things that have happened. I don't know if she, like, agreed with the things that happened or felt like she had to comply with them. Yeah, it's just, this is why talking about fundamentalism is so important. Because it allows systems like this to take place where it's unequal. You know, men are allowed to be in a position of too much power, and women are put in a position where they are powerless. And therefore, if their husband is doing something wrong, the wife basically has to go down with him. And, you know, think about what's going to happen to her in her social circles. What are people going to think of her? How are they going to treat her? Especially after the affair that had happened with Josh or the Ashley Madison scandal, and how her appearance seemed to change after that leaked publicly. Can't necessarily say that it's causal, but it certainly does have an interesting coincidence to it. You know, will she think it's her fault that she didn't do more? And that is unnecessary guilt on herself. And Anna's, again, not the only person who is affected by this, but, you know, I think she's going to be pulled in a lot of directions. And I hope that she doesn't receive criticism and judgment from the people that she cares about, because they might blame her for her husband's wrongdoing for causing him to stray or something. Causing him to stray. It's really, really important to start holding people accountable in fundamentalism. And I don't think Josh is the only one to be held accountable. Granted, he chose his actions, but at the same time, I don't think he was raised well at all. And I also want to make mention, too, that there are situations where people do choose to do horrible things or things that hurt themselves and the ones around them. And it's not because of how they were raised. It's because of other factors that they make that choice. And I think that's really important. However, the reason why I think that Jim Bob and Michelle are a part of this problem is because of what they have talked about and how they bring up their children, in the way that they have strict, unquestioning obedience, blanket training. Those stunt children's natural curiosity and ability to express emotions, which have been shown to be harmful. And especially with forced gender roles and sex expectations, it objectifies women. And this is just one piece of the giant pie. That sounded weirder coming out than I meant it to be. But yeah, so even though there's that part of me that is certainly having a hoorah, finally moment, it's also very bittersweet. And I hope that if anything, it sends a message of, you know, to leaders in fundamental circles, like, this needs to be talked about. We need to hold people accountable. This is why equality is important.